When I made my first two layoff videos, I had no idea that those videos would resonate with so many people. Hundreds of you shared your own stories and how you had either been laid off, you were hanging on, you had been laid off years ago. And I think it became clear to me that I wasn't alone. And while I was feeling alone at the time when I made the videos, I realized I wasn't alone. There were hundreds and thousands of people that share the same thing that I do. They're older, they've been laid off. What do I do from now? Where do I go from now? And one of the big questions I had was, what happens now? Where do you go from here? So, what happens now? I've had like 2 months to live this new chapter of my life since I've been laid off. And honestly, from the time I recorded that video on May 5th, I recorded it around May 17th, a couple of days after I had been laid off. And I see things pretty differently than I did in just that short amount of time. Um, when I recorded that very first video that I was laid off, I was scared. I was in shock. I didn't know quite what life would look like. I was in 10 years in this position and with the company, and I had no idea what what would come next. What does this look like now that my identity is not tied to this job? So I expected when I was laid off, I'd probably spend the summer wondering where do I go from here? What do I look for another job? That's not really realistic. At at 63, it's very hard to compete in the job market. Ageism is a real thing. And so that just seemed like, while it's not impossible, it just seemed like I would never be able to match what I had. And so I was really, I think, just figuring out what was coming next. And I think that one of the things we did prior to me being laid off was moving into the tiny home. And I had some videos on tiny homes that you can check out and our downsizing process and all of that. And I didn't realize at the time um, how important the decision to go tiny was because I didn't know I was going to be laid off, obviously. So I had no idea how important that would become. And I look back now and all of the downsizing, all of the looking for a house, where are we going to park it, and all of those things that we had did in kind of in the back of our minds, thinking, yeah, I'm going to retire one day, so we should probably do this now. I didn't know it was going to come sooner rather than later. I thought I'd have a few years to figure things out and get comfortable where we were. And, we moved in here in January, at the end of January, and I was laid off in May. So that only gave us a few months to, wow, what I thought might happen actually happened. And so now what do we do? And so I think that was a big change. If we had not prepared the re- for thinking about me to retiring later, if we had not made that jump into finding our tiny home and reducing our expenses more than half of what we were paying before, we would be in a much different place. And so I'm very thankful that we went through all of that process of downsizing in preparation. And I didn't know the actual event would come sooner than I had thought, but having that landing pad where you're not freaked out thinking, oh my God, I've got to get another job like ASAP. And even young people are having a hard time finding a job these days. And so someone my age is going to face a huge hurdle. I think something that unexpected happened to me during this whole 2 month of being laid off, 2 months of being laid off, is that one of my videos, my last video I did on my 1 month update on being laid off, I had over 100,000 views on that video, which was really, really, really surprised me. I wasn't expecting that. And but that's not what the views that I had were great, but that's not what changed me. What changed me was, I think, is the comments, is that other people were commenting on what they had gone through. They had gone through similar experiences. Um, they were also my age, maybe younger, maybe older. They would be laid off too, and my video had helped them. They didn't feel so much alone. It's like, we're not alone in this. I mean, there's a whole segment of our population in my age group that are losing their jobs and trying to find a replacement if they've been in a corporate setting like I was is next to impossible in these times. And so I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that that really helped me. Helping others helped me. And so that's always a good thing to realize, and always something that if you help someone else, you actually are helping yourself. And it feels good to be able to help others. And that was just a real surprise for me. Uh, and so I think for now, um, am I looking for another job, like a corporate job? Uh, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. If something fell into my lap, I can't say that I would say, oh, no, no way. But at the same time, I'm not actively looking for a replacement for my last job, because that's almost like something I would be chasing. And I don't want to chase that, because I was pretty unhappy in my past. That last year on my last job, I wanted to leave. I wanted out. I wanted to leave. But taking that step to leave is very hard, because for one, I became very comfortable, and you become comfortable with a regular paycheck, and you become comfortable with that, and then you think, oh well, maybe next month. I was going to leave in December, I was going to leave in January, I was going to leave in April, and I kept putting it off because it's hard to leave the familiar. It's hard to take that jump. And so in May, when I was laid off, it was like I was given that push that I needed, because at that point I had no choice. I had to leave. And so I think that was, I don't want to say a layoff is ever a blessing, or maybe it's a blessing in disguise. For me, I think I realized after the layoff that I had choices. I could work for myself. I could work on my YouTube channel. I could write an ebook. I could create anything I wanted to do to try to supplement my Social Security, which I will file for. Probably, hopefully, I can wait until I'm 64, which will be early next year. If not, I will file when I need to file, and that's okay. That is the plan. My plan at this point, and to supplement my income with YouTube, ebooks, creating whatever falls into my lap. I have no idea at this time. If I had not been laid off, if that had not happened, I would have missed out on seeing YouTube growth, but not just the growth on my channel, but seeing that I had actually helped people, what I had gone through, and just sharing what, hey, this is what happened to me. Other people could relate to that, and it helped other people, and they were able to share some things that maybe happened to them that they weren't able to share with anybody else, or maybe they hadn't shared it in a while, or whatever the reason was that they felt comfortable sharing. And that's kind of the space I want to create, is a space where it's a safe space for people our age range to comment, to leave comments, and know it's a safe space. I think one of the things that happened to me during the 2 months that I have been laid off is, one of my coworkers who actually used to work for me contacted me and said, hey, how you doing? And I was like, hey, what's up? And so they were telling me all of the stress that was going on at my old workplace, and all the things that were happening. And they were not happy with their hours, their new supervisor, they were maybe looking for a job elsewhere. And in that moment, I thought to myself, I didn't wish I was back there. I was so thankful I wasn't. And so that made me realize, you know what? Something clicked, something changed in me, and I didn't want to go back anymore. And it surprised me. And, but now I think about it even more after that contact I had with my former uh, coworker. And I think, I'm so happy that I'm not there anymore, because had I stayed, I would have missed out on the things that have happened in the last 2 months to me. Good things. So if you're watching this and you've recently been laid off, you're afraid you're going to be laid off, Maybe you're sitting in a job every day that you really hate and you really want to leave, but it's hard to leave what's familiar, right? I can't say the word. What's familiar, it's hard. It's very hard to leave. And so if you feel like you are going to be laid off, you have been laid off, I don't know what the next chapter is going to be for you. I'm still figuring it out for me. But I can tell you that sometimes, at least in my case, I spent so much time holding on to what was familiar that I would have missed out on discovering what was actually next for me. So I'll just end here. 2 months ago, when I was laid off, I was grieving for what I had lost, and today I'm grateful for what I've found these past 2 months. And I still don't have exactly what the next chapter of my life is going to look like, but I think for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to find out. And I think that's the difference of where I am today versus where I was 2 months ago after the layoff and just prior to the layoff. And so I want to thank you for stopping by. Um, Please like, subscribe if you wish, and leave me some comments below. We'll talk there. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.